Hey everyone, and welcome back. I bet a lot of you out there have a .com domain name. It's
Hmm.
like the default, right?
Yeah.
For the internet.
Yeah.
But lately I've been seeing all these new extensions popping up, AI.xyzgg.
Yeah.
It really makes you wonder, is .com still king of the hill?
Mm.
Or are we headed for like a digital shakeup?
Right.
Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today.
Oh, yeah.
We've got a whole stack of reports here from top domain investors and market analysis on how people are using these new extensions.
Yeah.
Even some pretty surprising case studies of non-.com domains selling for big bucks.
Wow.
So by the end of this deep dive,
Yeah.
you'll know whether that .com gut feeling is really on point,
Yeah.
what's really driving domain values these days,
Hmm.
and maybe even spot some emerging opportunities beyond those like three familiar letters.
I like it.
Okay, so let's just start with the elephant in the room. .com's dominance,
Sure.
it's everywhere. Is this just because it got there first, or is there more to it?
Well, there's definitely a psychological factor at play here. Okay. It's called the primacy effect.
The primacy effect.
Basically, the first experience we have with somebody tends to stick with us.
Right.
.com was the OG,
Yeah.
the pioneer.
Yeah.
So it's really etched into our collective digital memory.
It's like that first love you never quite forget.
Exactly.
Even if there are objectively better options out there now.
Right.
But it's not just nostalgia, is it? There's got to be a financial reason why .com is still so sought after.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Think about it. The early internet investors,
Mm-hmm.
the ones who scooped up .coms back in the day,
Yeah.
they built empires on those domains.
Right.
Their entire portfolios, their identities as internet moguls, are tied to .com's success.
Yeah, so they're not just going to let .com fade into obscurity.
Nope.
They have a vested interest in keeping it at the top.
For sure.
But let's play devil's advocate here for a second.
Okay.
If new extensions are gaining traction and selling for big money,
Mm-hmm.
doesn't that mean that .com is losing its grip a little bit?
Well, it's not that simple.
Okay.
There's this concept called market inertia.
Market inertia.
Basically, it's the tendency for things to stay the same even when there's pressure to change.
Okay.
It's like trying to turn a giant ship.
Right.
It takes a lot of force and time
Hmm.
to change course.
Huge momentum.
Exactly. .com has decades of momentum behind it.
Yeah.
So even if new extensions are making waves, it doesn't mean that .com is going away anytime soon.
So we've got this tension then between the old guard .com
Yeah.
and these new kids on the block vying for a piece of the pie.
Uh-huh.
It sounds like a digital showdown is brewing.
I like it.
But before we jump into that, I want to look at some specific examples of these non.com domains that are shaking things up.
Yeah.
I was blown away by some of these sale prices.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We too.
Crazy.
Some eye-opening sales lately.
Yeah.
For example, voice.ai went for 6 figures.
Wow.
That's a clear sign that industry-specific extensions like AI are attracting some serious buyers, especially with the current AI boom.
Okay, 6 figures for a .ai domain, that definitely got my attention.
Right.
But was that just a fluke, or are we seeing a trend here?
Definitely not an isolated incident.
Okay.
Galaxy.xyz also sold for a substantial sum,
Really?
proving that .xyz isn't just a novelty anymore.
Interesting.
And then you have examples like bet.gg,
Mm-hmm.
which has become a major player in the esports world.
So these niche extensions are carving out their own territory, especially in emerging industries.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, could they actually pose a real threat to .com's dominance in the long run?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
On the one hand, you have the psychological power and established value of .com.
Right.
But on the other, you have these agile new extensions perfectly positioned to capitalize on emerging trends and cater to specific communities.
It's like .com is the blue chick stock of the domain world.
Uh-huh.
Safe, reliable, but maybe not the most exciting.
Yeah.
And these new extensions are like the up-and-coming startups, riskier, but with a potential for explosive growth.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
And just like in the stock market, diversification is key.
Diversification.
Smart investors don't put all their eggs in one basket.
Right.
So instead of viewing this as a winner-take-all battle,
Mm-hmm.
maybe the future of the domain landscape lies in a more diverse portfolio.
So you're saying it's not necessarily about choosing .com or new extensions. Maybe it's about finding the right mix for your specific goals.
Exactly.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But before we get too deep into investment strategies,
Sure.
let's talk about something that's probably on everyone's mind.
Okay.
SEO.
Yes.
Does .com really have an advantage when it comes to search rankings?
This is a common misconception.
Really?
We need to debunk it right now.
Okay.
Google has explicitly stated that the domain extension itself has no direct impact on SEO.
No impact.
Content backlinks, user experience, those are the factors that truly matter.
Wait, so all those years of people stressing about getting that .com for better SEO, it was all for nothing.
Pretty much.
Wow.
Don't let outdated beliefs hold you back from exploring the potential of these new extensions.
Hooray.
In fact, in some cases, a niche extension might actually give you a better SEO advantage.
Now that's a twist. How could a new extension be better for SEO than the almighty .com?
Think about it. If you're in the AI space and you have a .i domain,
Okay.
it instantly signals to Google what your site is about. It adds relevance.
Right.
It can even help you rank for industry-specific keywords.
Interesting.
It's like having a built-in keyword right there in your domain name.
So it's not just about the letters themselves, but what those letters communicate to both users and search engines.
Right.
AI domain tells everyone you're part of the AI world, and that can make a big difference in how you're perceived and ranked.
Absolutely.
But let's not get ahead of ourselves here.
Okay.
We've covered a lot of ground already, from the psychology of .com to the rise of these new extensions, even busted a major SEO myth along the way.
It's been a journey.
But what does all of this mean for the listener who's trying to navigate this evolving domain landscape?
That's the key question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the answer, as with most things in the digital world, is?
Yeah.
It depends.
It depends.
It depends on your goals, your industry, your budget, your risk tolerance.
Right.
But one thing's clear. The old rules of the domain game are changing.
Okay, so we've established that things are changing.
Yeah.
But how are they changing? What does that mean for someone who's looking to buy, sell, or invest in domains today?
Right.
Let's dive into that next. All right, so we've established that the domain landscape is shifting.
Yeah.
It's not just about blindly grabbing a .com anymore.
Nope.
There's strategy involved now.
Definitely.
So what are some of the key factors that people should consider when they're making decisions in this new domain world?
Well, you hit the nail on the head.
Okay.
It's all about strategy now. The first thing is to really understand your audience.
Your audience.
Who are you trying to reach?
Right.
What kind of image are you trying to project?
Right.
A .com might signal stability and trustworthiness, which is great for a traditional business.
Sure.
But if you're targeting a younger, more tech-savvy crowd,
Yeah.
a .io or a tech might resonate better.
Yeah, it's like choosing the right outfit for a job interview, right?
Exactly.
You want to make the right impression right from the get-go.
First impressions matter.
But audience is just one piece of the puzzle.
Right. Another crucial aspect is branding.
Branding.
Your domain name should reinforce your brand identity,
Okay.
not contradict it.
Right.
So let's say you're building a luxury fashion brand.
Okay.
A .com might work, but a boutique
Okay.
or even a fashion could add an extra layer of like exclusivity and sophistication.
So a well-chosen extension can actually enhance your brand.
Absolutely.
Make it more memorable, even more valuable.
Right.
It's not just an address anymore. Nope.
It's part of your brand's DNA.
Precisely. And this is where those high-value sales of non.com domains become even more interesting.
Okay.
They're not just random outliers.
Right.
They're indicators of how brands are using these new extensions to create value and differentiate themselves.
Can you give us like a concrete example?
Sure.
How is a company actually leveraging a non.com domain to build a stronger brand?
Let's take Sandbox, for example.
They
They went with sandbox.game.
Yeah.
A choice that instantly positions them within the gaming community.
Yeah?
It tells users exactly what they're about before they even land on the website.
It's like that secret handshake
How that
that
is.
lets you into the club.
Right.
And as the gaming industry continues to grow, that game extension becomes even more valuable.
Absolutely.
It's almost like owning a prime piece of digital real estate in a booming city.
That's a great way to think about it.
Yeah.
And it's not just about industry association.
It's also about creating a sense of community.
Community.
A domain extension can be a powerful tool for bringing people together who share a common interest.
So a blur art domain could attract artists. A music domain could connect musicians.
Exactly.
A eco domain could rally environmental activists. The possibilities are endless.
It really is.
It's about finding that sweet spot
Right.
where your domain extension aligns with your brand, resonates with your audience, and potentially even taps into a larger movement or community.
Exactly.
This is making me rethink my whole approach to domains.
I know, right?
It's not just about finding a catchy name and slapping a .com on the end anymore.
Nope.
It's a much more nuanced strategic game now.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
And this brings us back to that idea of diversification.
Diversification.
Maybe instead of chasing that one perfect .com,
Yeah.
it makes sense to explore a portfolio of domains.
Yeah, okay.
A mix of .coms and strategically chosen new extensions.
So you could have your main brand on a .com, but also own the AI or a tech version
Right.
for specific projects or campaigns.
Exactly.
That way you're covering all your bases
Uh-huh.
and maximizing your reach across different audiences.
That's a smart approach, and it's not just about reach.
Okay.
It's also about risk mitigation.
Risk mitigation.
What if a new technology emerges,
Oh.
a new industry takes off,
Right.
and suddenly a certain extension becomes the hot commodity?
Yeah.
If you've diversified your portfolio,
Mm-hmm.
you're better positioned to capitalize on those emerging trends.
It's like having a diverse investment portfolio.
Exactly.
You're not putting all your eggs in one basket.
Right.
But let's be real for a second.
Okay.
.com still holds a lot of weight in the market.
Mm-hmm.
Is it even realistic for these new extensions to truly compete?
That's where things get really fascinating.
Okay.
Remember what we talked about earlier, market inertia?
Yeah?
It's a powerful force, and .com has a lot of it.
Right.
But we're also seeing a shift in mentality,
Okay.
particularly among younger generations,
Mm-hmm.
who are more open to new technologies and less attached to the old ways of doing things.
It's like how we consume music now. We used to buy CDs, then we downloaded MP3s, and now it's all about streaming services.
Right.
Technology changes and consumer behavior adapts.
It does.
Could the same thing happen with domains?
It's definitely possible. We're already seeing signs of it with the success of companies like Notion,
Notion.
which built their entire platform on a Dassault domain.
Wow.
They didn't need a .com to become a billion-dollar company.
That's a powerful example.
It is.
It shows that a strong brand, a great product,
Mm-hmm.
and a seamless user experience
Yeah.
can trump even the most established domain extension.
Absolutely.
But building a successful brand takes time, effort,
Yep.
and a whole lot of strategy.
For sure.
You're absolutely right. And that's why it's so important to view your domain name as a long-term investment,
Mm-hmm.
not just a quick fix.
Right.
Think about the big picture, your brand identity, your target audience, your long-term goal.
Long-term goals.
Okay, so we've talked about audience,
Mm-hmm.
branding,
Yeah.
diversification,
Uh-huh.
and even touched on the potential for these new extensions to disrupt the market.
Right.
But let's bring it back to the listener for a moment.
Okay.
If someone is hearing all of this for the first time,
Mm-hmm.
what's the one key takeaway they should walk away with?
I'd say the most important takeaway is this.
Yeah.
The domain landscape is more dynamic than ever before.
Okay.
Don't get stuck in old paradigms.
Right.
Do your research, be strategic, and explore all the options.
All the options.
You might be surprised at what you discover.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
But before we send our listeners off on their domain exploring adventures, there's one more thing I want to touch on.
Okay.
The psychology behind .com's dominance.
Mm-hmm.
Why are those three little letters so powerful?
Right.
Is it just about being first, or is there something more at play?
Yeah, it really is fascinating how much psychology is kind of baked into the internet, right?
Yeah.
With .com, it's not just about being first, though.
Right.
That definitely gave it a huge head start.
For sure.
It's about the emotions that we've tied to it over the decades.
Okay. Unpack that a little. What kind of emotions are we talking about here?
Just think about your own experience.
Mm.
When you see a .com, what comes to mind?
Um.
Probably a sense of legitimacy, of trust, maybe even a little bit of awe.
Yeah, I guess I do kind of assume a .com is the real deal.
Right.
Especially if it's a brand I haven't heard of before.
Exactly. It's become shorthand for established, professional, even successful.
Right.
And that perception has real-world value.
Okay.
Consumers are more likely to click on a .com link.
Mm-hmm.
Investors are more likely to back a .com startup.
Interesting.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way.
So it's not just that .com is inherently better.
Right.
It's that we've collectively decided it is.
Yeah.
And that belief influences our behavior. Mm-hmm.
Which then reinforces that belief.
Exactly.
It's like a feedback loop of perception and value.
Precisely. And that's why it's so difficult for these new extensions to break through.
Yeah.
They're not just competing against other domain names.
Right.
They're competing against decades of ingrained perceptions and behaviors.
It's like trying to convince everyone that blue is actually the new red.
Uh-huh. Right.
Good luck with that. But that doesn't mean it's impossible.
No.
We've already seen some new extensions gaining some serious traction.
Right, and that's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Those high-value sales of non.com domains,
Yep.
they're not just flukes.
Right.
They're signs that the market is starting to evolve,
Okay.
that perceptions are shifting.
It's like those first few cracks in a dam.
Uh-huh.
Something big is about to happen.
Yeah.
But what's driving that change?
Hmm.
Is it just about the new extensions themselves? Or is there something bigger at play?
It's a combination of factors.
First, you have the rise of new technologies and industries that are naturally aligned with specific extensions.
Right.
Like AI for artificial intelligence,
Right.
tech for the tech industry, game for gaming.
It's like each new wave of innovation creates a demand for a new digital language.
Yeah.
A way to instantly signal your place in that world.
Exactly. And then you have the growing importance of branding.
Branding.
In a crowded digital landscape, standing out is more important than ever.
Sure.
And a well-chosen domain extension can be a powerful branding tool.
It's like choosing a unique storefront on a busy street.
Yeah.
You want something that catches the eye, that makes people curious.
Precisely. And finally, you have a new generation of internet users
Okay.
who are less attached to the old ways of doing things.
Right.
They're more open to experimentation, more willing to embrace new ideas.
It's like how we used to think of smartphones as a luxury, and now they're practically essential. What was once novel becomes the norm, and that opens up space for even newer ideas to emerge.
That's a great analogy. So to answer your question,
Yeah.
yes, I do think it's possible
Okay.
for these new extensions to disrupt the market, to change the way we think about domain names.
Yeah.
It won't happen overnight, but the seeds of change have already been planted.
So what does this all mean for our listener? Should they rush out and buy up every new extension they can find?
Hold on.
Okay.
As we've discussed throughout this whole deep dive,
Yeah.
it's not about chasing trends or trying to get rich quick.
Right.
It's about understanding the market being strategic and making informed decisions that align with your goals.
So no need to abandon your trusty.com just yet.
Right.
But maybe it's time to start thinking outside those three letters.
Yeah.
See what other possibilities are out there.
Exactly. The domain landscape is evolving, and that creates some really exciting opportunities for those who are willing to explore, to experiment, to maybe even take a few calculated risks.
It sounds like the future of the internet is going to be a lot more diverse, a lot more interesting,
I think so, too.
and maybe even a little bit wild.
And who knows? Maybe one of those new extensions you decide to invest in today will become the next.com.
Well, on that note of optimistic curiosity, we're going to wrap up this deep dive.
That's good.
But before we go, I want to leave you with one final thought.
Okay.
If .com represents the established order, the safe bet, the predictable choice, maybe these new extensions are the wild cards.
Yeah.
The disruptors, the ones with the potential to rewrite the rules of the game.
It's an exciting time.
So as you navigate this ever-evolving digital world,
Yeah.
don't be afraid to explore, to experiment, to think beyond the .com.
I like it.
The future of the internet is waiting to be written, and you might just be the one to write it.
That's a great way to put it.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.